Hey, what's up everybody? Danny DeVries here, and today I'm joined with Jim, and we're talking about the Pulsar. This thing is amazing. This thing is the latest and greatest in all tuning technology, but you guys are also taking this and expanding coverage for this. Tell me a little bit more about that.
We are, yeah. PowerTech introduced the Pulsar brand in 2018, and it is carried by all three of our brands, DiabloSport, Edge Products, and Superchip. So we've been really excited with how that product has been met in the marketplace for 15 to 19, 5.7 Ram Hemi engines. We've also just introduced 15 to 18, 6.4 Hemi. So we've had rave reviews about the product. This is what we call internally winning with innovation. It's a product that delivers the features and power that we're known for on vehicles that have traditionally required a PCM swap, which they no longer do if you want to use Pulsar. So again, we've had a lot of traction in the marketplace from both our resellers and consumers. We've listened to the consumer. We think this product delivers on what they're looking for. And today, we're really excited because we're extending the Pulsar coverage to the JL Wrangler for the 18 and 19 model year.
Wow.
So we'll walk through that with you today. We'll kind of show you how that works. It's going to be very similar to how the product has worked for the Hemi. There is a bracket that's included in the box, so we're going to unbox this here in a minute and walk you through all the components.
I'm excited. Let's jump into it. Check it out.
Great.
So, Jim, this is everything that comes in it. There's really not that much in here for what this thing does, but what are we looking at here?
Right, yeah, you won't be overwhelmed with a boatload of hardware out of the box here. So we've unboxed the Pulsar for JL. Obviously, you'll see the Pulsar module itself. This is what will connect onto your factory PCM. It'll sit right on top. And then we have 3 bolts and washers that will replace the factory bolts. So when you're mounting this on top of your factory PCM, you'll have a clean fit. Those are what you're going to need to keep handy. So when you're installing that, set those aside. Make sure you keep them in a safe spot. We also have an optional bracket. We suggest you use this, particularly if you have your factory intake on the vehicle. This will help give the Pulsar a clean kind of nesting spot to mount and fit as intended. And then some optional zip ties here. As you move the intake tube to install, which we'll show you here in just a bit, you'll have the option to tighten things back up with zip ties if you elect to. So, you know, a flathead screwdriver, a half drive socket, an 8mm and a 10mm socket. That's all you need. You'll be ready to go.
For the capabilities of this product, I'm really amazed at how little's in here. But this thing's awesome. Can we go install it?
Yep, let's go install it.
Cool. All right, so now that we're out here in the garage, we're going to go ahead and install the Pulsar on this 2018 Jeep Wrangler JL. The first thing we're going to do, though, is we're going to disconnect the negative terminals. There's 2 batteries on these Jeeps, so we're going to disconnect those. In order to maintain those batteries to be disconnected, you're going to have to keep those wires separate. So we're going to go ahead and do that and then move on with the install. All right, so our first step, if you guys have a stock air intake, we really recommend you guys remove this and then mount our bracket in here with the Pulsar to get a flush, clean mount. So this is a stock air intake. We're going to go ahead and remove this and then get on with the installation of the Pulsar and the PCM. All right, so the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and cut these zip ties here, allowing us to remove this mass airflow sensor from the stock intake. Now that we've got that done, we're going to remove the mass airflow sensor by turning counterclockwise, and it should just pull right out. All right, so the next step in removing the air intake is we're going to go ahead and remove hose number 3 here. And you do that by pushing down this locking mechanism and pulling it out, just like that. That frees us up so we can go ahead and move on to the bolts, the hose clamps, and pull out the air intake module. So to remove these front 2 bolts here, you're going to use a 10mm socket, and to remove the hose clamps, you will use a 8mm socket. So now what we're going to do is we're going to locate the factory PCM here and actually disconnect it. And in order to do that, we're going to use a flathead screwdriver. Press down on this safety lever by pushing towards the PCM and then unlock it just like that. All right, so now that we've disconnected the wires for the PCM, now we're going to go ahead and remove the PCM. And for that, you're going to need a 10mm socket to undo these bolts here and pull the PCM off. Now that we've got the bolts off, we're going to pull out the PCM and go ahead and install the Pulsar onto the PCM. All right, so now that we've got our PCM and our Pulsar here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install our Pulsar onto our PCM. But as you can see, it doesn't seat all the way down. So what you're going to need to do is put this on a flat surface and apply even pressure down until it seats on there evenly and flush. All right, so now that we've got the Pulsar installed onto the PCM, now we're going to get to removing this bracket. And the first thing we're going to do is take off this wiring harness on top of the washer fluid reservoir. In order to do that, you just pull this yellow tab on the side and pull out the red lock. Once you got the red lock completely out, you can see it's pretty easy just to pull that out. So now that we got the loose side out here, what we're going to do is we're going to take a flathead screwdriver and push it on the inside of this thing, the remaining connector, which depresses the lock tab, allowing us to slide that off. And now that we've got the plugs separated from the factory harness, we're going to go ahead and take and remove the 6 zip tie holders from the harness. Now, the ones that have the square top, you can go ahead and cut those if you want, but we're just going to go ahead and pull these out. All right, now that we've got the wiring harnesses and everything disconnected from the main mount here, PCM mount, we're going to go ahead and use a size 8mm socket and remove all the bolts until the factory mount is free. Once you got all the bolts removed, it's pretty easy just to pull out the factory bracket. Now we're going to go ahead and install the Pulsar bracket. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take this screw and the provided 10mm nut and go ahead and thread it through the bottom of the washer fluid reservoir. Now that we've got that flat screw threaded through the bottom here on the washer fluid, we're going to go ahead and take a washer and our 10mm nut and go ahead and screw this on, fasten it down. You're going to want to use a 10mm socket or 10mm wrench, but you do want to make sure that this is really tight on the mount. Now for the top, we're going to use the same factory screws that came with it. We're just going to screw those back in, take our 8mm and tighten this down. So now is the fun part. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the Pulsar in the PCM, sliding it carefully down into here. Once you've got the Pulsar through the wiring harnesses, you're going to go ahead and take the 3 provided bolts and go ahead and align those with the holes that are pre-drilled into the Pulsar mount and get the lock washer and thread those together. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our harnesses and plug them into the Pulsar unit. And press down until it locks into place. All right, so now that we've got our harnesses plugged into the PCM and the Pulsar unit, now we're going to go ahead and reconnect the top harness here, reinstall the cold air intake, reconnect the battery, and then we're going to get to tuning. So let's go ahead and do that. While you're reinstalling your factory cold air intake, you want to make sure that you are very careful when you're reinstalling the mass airflow sensor. Once you've got the mass airflow sensor installed, we're going to go ahead and re-bolt on the factory bolts, reconnect the negative wire, and get to tuning. Okay, so now that we've installed the Pulsar module here, this thing's got a lot of features. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it does a lot. So you just installed it, and what we're going to see when we jump in the cab and cycle through some of these features is we're going to have increased throttle sensitivity. We also make power on top of that. So don't just think throttle sensitivity. We're actually making power in addition to that feel on the pedal.
That's huge,
It
yeah.
is. And then we also have features like your tire size options, your gear ratios for your shift schedules. Auto StartStop is a feature that's equipped on this JL. We can actually help you manage that. So a lot of times you may turn the button on and off as you're driving. The Jeep won't remember those settings. Pulsar will. So it's kind of set it and forget it. If you don't want auto StartStop on, you can turn it off. The Pulsar will remember that setting, and next time you drive to the store or to and from work, you hit that red light, you're not going to power down. It's actually going to be disabled through the Pulsar. So there's a lot of neat options. TPMS on, off, adjust. We're making good power. The throttle sensitivity is night and day. We'll cycle through some of those features, but it's fun to drive.
Cool, let's jump in it.
All right. Now that we've got the Pulsar installed on this 2018 JL, we're going to move to the run position. It's important to note that does not mean start the engine. That is the key cycle just prior to starting. So here we're going to tap twice to bring us to the run position. To make sure that our power levels are going to be broadcast on the dash itself, we want to navigate to the audio menu here. You're going to use the left-hand side of your steering column to navigate through those menu options. So what we'll do here is get back up to audio, and we want to press cancel, and you'll see that our settings are now being broadcast on the dash. From here you can cycle through any of your on-dash menu options, and as you're driving you can use your set plus and set minus buttons, and you'll notice that you'll see those power levels cycling through between stock, economy, tow, and performance. So from here, if you haven't done anything with your tires or your gears, you can hit the road, go give Pulsar a shot. If you have upgraded your tires or added aftermarket gears, you are going to want to go back into the audio menu and make sure that you're setting the correct tire size and gear ratios. We're going to navigate here to the audio menu, and when we get there, what we're going to do is press and hold cancel for 5 seconds. From here we have our options to turn TPMS completely off. We are not going to do that here. This is where accelerator pedal position will come into play to help you set these features. So no press will be the default no. If I do want to set TPMS off, I would press on the accelerator. Once I've come to the selection that I want to move forward with, I need to set that. So I'll press on the right hand side here, the set plus. Do I want to adjust TPMS? Right now I don't want to do that. This Pulsar does give you the option to do that between 22 and 64 PSI. Again, you're setting the threshold in which the TPMS light will broadcast on your dash. So we are not going to set that at this time. And now we've moved on to tire size. This is a stock JL. We haven't done any tires here yet, but let's say we put 33-inch tires on the JL. I'm going to press to the accelerator to select yes, and then hit set plus. And now it's going to ask me if I want to set that in English or metric. Again, selecting between the two on the pedal position. I'm going to select English, and I want to go with 33-inch tires. This JL will allow you to set the tires between 20 and 40 inches. So again, accelerator pedal position, the default would be 2, a full press would be 4. I want 33s, so I'm going to find the sweet spot in the middle and set. I'm going to let go here. Now let's say I've got 33s and by accident I selected 35s. Okay, rather than cycling through the full menu again, you can hit the set minus button to go back to that and dial it back to 33. I will now hit set. I'll let go to 0, and I'm ready to go. Axle ratio here. The Pulsar for the JL Wrangler will allow you to set between 2 and 599. For the purpose of this, let's go ahead and select yes, that we do want axle gear ratios, and let's say we do want 5/38. So let's hit set. I will depress off the accelerator to get to 3. Oh, I messed up. Let's go back. There I go. Press to 8. Set. And now it'll allow me to program. No press on the accelerator is no. A full press was yes. I do want to go ahead and do that, and you'll hit your set plus button. And you'll see here that this will take approximately 10 seconds. It's very quick. And again, it's saving all those settings into the vehicle, so your speedo is corrected, your shift patterns are going to be accounted for with your aftermarket gears, and then obviously you'll still have your power levels on top of this. Now we can turn the key off and we're ready to go. So one of the really cool settings that the Pulsar has for the 18 and 19 JL Wrangler is the option to manage your auto start-stop feature, which if you have one of these Jeeps, you're probably very familiar with that. Let's go ahead and turn the Jeep on. What you'll notice currently if you're not running Pulsar is that you can manage this as you're driving, but the setting is not remembered by the Jeep. And so when you start the Jeep back up, the auto start-stop is on. Well, what Pulsar does is it'll actually remember the setting, and the next time you start the Jeep, it'll be off. So if you don't like auto start-stop, you prefer not to use it if you're taking long trips or if you're even driving around the city and doing a lot of frequent stopping and going, the Pulsar will remember that setting. It's just a nice convenience factor, and it's something that the Pulsar offers you that's quite simply as simple as hitting the button one time and having that setting remembered.
Well, there you have it. To find out more about features and functionality of the brand new Pulsar for 2018 newer JL Jeep Wranglers, check us out online. Go to DiabloSport.com.